a little bit more, then Google it and try to learn a little bit more. I can share another book that details all of that. But of course, book is not really a problem. I mean, a lot of books are there, and means reading all that is not that easy either. So if you go to the internet and you find some answers and you still have some confusions, then ask me and we can discuss on the discuss channel and stuff. Again, programming environment like Eclipse, it allows you to, it helps you in writing, compiling, execution in an integrated way. So Eclipse from that point of view is very helpful. Now, last time we ran a program, right? Who did run a program last time? So, everybody go to jdoodle.com. You guys too. And she's already done that, so what's your name, sister? Sayyida. Oh, you are Khaira, right? Yeah. So let's all go to jdoodle.com, and there is, once you go to jdoodle.com, you'll automatically see a program right there, right? Is it working for everybody?
Yes. What do you want us to write?
No, it is already a program. Once you start it, there's already a program, right? Let me try to also go to jdoodle and see if I could. Okay. And show. So we want to talk about errors. So this is programming errors. We want to talk a little bit about errors. We'll try to make it a little bit hands-on, because if we are not hands-on, then it's not that interesting. Okay, where should I go? jdoodle. Cool. And then we click on Java, right? Everybody there? Yes.
What's the relation between the relation between Java, Eclipse, and GDK? Because for that day, on our homepage, I only have we can hear, but I'm thinking, do I have, is this, how do you, is this like Eclipse, was JD?
No, this is DOS. This is like Windows.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So I have to, how do I follow the instructions, but I think I stuck somewhere. I guess I don't have to.
Sure, we will work on Eclipse. So one of, right? No, this is not Eclipse. So at least for time being, you'll have to go to jdoodle. But did you install JDK?
Yes.
And it finished installing, right?
Yes.
Then you install Eclipse.
No,
So there is, from the links that I sent, in it there will find another link, which is to install Eclipse.
Yeah, I didn't install Eclipse.
Right, so you have to install Eclipse, and then you will be somewhere. And even then you will find a couple of issues, but then we'll go.
What is this?
No, this is just a Java. Now,
okay, so I don't understand.
So one of the things, right? One of the things is that the Eclipse is different from Java. Totally. Java is a compiler, and running environment, or what we saw. Just a second. Yes. So Java is this, and Java is this. You guys with me? So JDK that you guys will download or have downloaded, that is this and this. This is done, running is done by the operating system or a little bit with Java. This is this is Eclipse. For the main part, this is Eclipse. But Eclipse becomes a little bit around it by helping you do the editing, right? But then from Eclipse, you can compile. It will use Java to compile, but you are sitting on Eclipse and it will call Java and compile. Then you are sitting on Eclipse and it is taking care of where your class files are and it is taking care of your libraries. Then you say, okay, run it, and it will run for you. So Eclipse would use Java, JDK, which is separate, and run it for you. And then the output, it will show you on the Eclipse. So it is called integrated development environment. It is not a Java, it is just an environment. Now, the same Eclipse can be used, in the same Eclipse, you can use Java to do a lot of other things. But you can even use C program. So you can tell Eclipse, no, now I want to compile C. You'll have to, of course, initially have tell it where the C compiler is. So the same Eclipse will call C compiler and compile the program and things like that. So Eclipse is like the whole environment that helps you take care of your programming.
What is the difference between C compiler and Java, JDK?
So C compiler is a different programming language. It's just that simple. It's a different programming language. Can do the similar things, or some things are even better, but it's a different programming language. Java is a different programming language.
You said Eclipse encompasses the editor as well. So in my mind, I was thinking WordPad was the editor, but no.
No. So Eclipse is, just to make it, so Eclipse definitely has the editor. But Eclipse, because it's a development environment, it allows you to have so many different types of editors. Then, if you're doing it in WordPad does not know Java. WordPad is just a WordPad, right?
So Eclipse is going to do all of the identifying errors and everything.
Right. So Eclipse will help you identifying errors, exactly. Even it will help you formatting your text. Even for you to read, it will show you the text of the program, this Java source code, in a way that will be easy for you to see. Like for different names, different identifiers, it will show differently.
Gotcha. So we'll use Eclipse instead of WordPad, or we'll also use...
We'll not use WordPad.
Not even touch it.
Yeah, it was just an example.
Gotcha.
Right. All right, so we are here at jdoodle.com, right? Did it work for you?
No.
Why?
So that's the side, right? So
jdoodle.com, right? Let's see. Musa, helping? Musa, you're helping? So what happened? Why not jdoodle? Oh, you go to... Oh, you're not using Wi-Fi. Alright, Musa will help you.
The Wi-Fi is only running about 1 megabit per second.
Yeah, but it will not take too much. So one of the things that we talked about last time was that the first 2 lines and the last 2 lines will stay common for all of our programs that we will do for 2 or 3 classes. For the next 2 or 3 lectures, they will always be like this. Remove these 4 or 5 lines from here. We'll always have these first 2 lines and these last 2 lines, right? And this is how you write a software program. And we talked about matching brackets. You have to match the brackets to make sure that the brackets match and stuff. So, of course, some of you did not go through the first lectures, but still we did talk a little bit about what are the different parts of the written program, which is like you have to have a class, you have to have a main function. So this is a function, and I will tell you in a few days or maybe now what makes it a function. But basically what I want to stress on right now, because we are not trying to talk about functions right now, or classes, or the how bigger organization of the program is, but we want to talk about variables and mathematical operations today. So, to be able to do that quickly, we always want to write a program where these two lines are always there and these last two lines are always there, and then in between we will do few things all the time. So one of the things, the first topic for today.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Did you say? Can you go back to that picture? Did you say always we write the program in between these two lines on top and the?
For the couple of days, for the couple of classes,
okay.
or 2-3 classes.
Oh.
When we are doing some basic stuff.
Yeah.
Once we go beyond that basic stuff,
Okay.
and we know few things like variables, mathematical operations, conditional statements, and functions, then we'll go to functions. Once we go into and then loops. So 4 things we want to learn. Then we will go into functions, and then then just this JDoodle will not work for us too much. Then we'll have to go. Everybody should be on Eclipse, and then we will go into an organization of a program that will be a little bit bigger than this, right? But we want to go slow. But we want to make sure that everybody practices those basic things very much, so that we have no problem in writing some very basic programs. And that's the whole idea of the whole class, that everybody is very familiar, very good in writing some very basic programs. And those things, one of the reason I'm doing this class is that those things are very similar in any programming language. So we are using Java, but sometimes you want to move to some other language, or if you ever think that you want to do it yourself, you will at least not have to worry about some very basic programming concepts. So those basic programming concepts are there in every language. We'll talk about it a little bit more. But so this JDoodle is also an integrated environment. Why I say it? Because it has an editor. What you see here is an editor, right? I can change anything. So I can edit it. Then I can execute it. When I execute it, it is running and it is giving me a result, an output. So I can write in it and I can get an output. I can run right directly from it. So this is an integrated environment. If you want, you can create an account in it, and then it will save your files and stuff also, which means that you can bring it back easily and stuff. So today what we want to do is, the topic we are in is, and I wanted to, is compilation errors. So one of the things that we will see is that yeah.
No, can you make it full screen?
The thing is, if yeah, we can make it full screen. Somehow.
This is hard to see.
Yeah, I know, but okay. So there are different types of error. Once you start running your program, you will for a programmer's life, one of the worst thing and one of the most common thing is error. You will see a lot of errors in programming. Programming is not that easy. One of the things that I wanted to stress to everybody is that, in programming you cannot assume anything. If you want program to do something, you have to write it. You cannot assume that the program will automatically will do something. because that's logical, that's understandable, that's how it works. It never works like this. Whatever you see in the whole program, in any big software, that you click something and something happens, everything is programmed. Somebody in the back end wrote everything with the minutest details, which means that you write something and then it does not do. It is your problem. You did not tell it to do it. There is no other way. So in the programming, there is a big responsibility, which is fine, but then there is a big problem, which is error. So there are different types of error. Syntax error. One of the errors is that violation of syntax rules. A whole programming language is a syntax rule, just like in English language. If I say it differently, then my syntax is not correct and people will not understand it. If I say I am, it means differently than am I, right? So that's how the whole programming also works about it. If I just say I am and I don't say anything, then you'll say something is missing. He said something but did not finish it, right? Same with programming. If you write something and created and did an open bracket and did not put a closed bracket, the other side of the bracket, then it will give you an error. Sometimes it cannot find an error. If I say I am, you don't know what I'm trying to say. You cannot find an error in my speech, right? Because you don't know what I'm trying to say. Same with you. When you write a program and you miss something, your compiler does not know what you wanted to do. So it cannot pinpoint you exactly, there is the error. So you will see that you missed something and the error is somewhere else. And say, this compiler is stupid. It's stupid in the sense that it cannot read your mind, but it is trying to read it, and wherever it can find, it will point you, okay, this is where the error is, while actual error is somewhere else. So those kind of things, you will, if you're a programmer, and hopefully you'll become a programmer, all your life you will see that. But of course, with practice, you'll get better. So there is something which is called syntax error. And in my last class, I told about syntax. Like for example, if you write for is a language word. If you write it with an uppercase and lowercase are different. And for a language to understand for, it has to be lowercase. If, for example, for some reason, if you misspell it with uppercase, for some reason, it will give you a syntax error maybe. There could be semantic error. Sometimes if you, spelling error can be a semantic error. And there could be logical errors, which means that, say for example, you have to loop 99 times, but you are looping 100 times. That's a logical error. Why it's happening? Because your values are not correct. So all these errors, different tools or different things will find them. But syntax error most of the time and semantic errors most of the time compiler will find them. But then sometimes it's not that easy to directly fix it. So we will see. For example, so that's why we were at the JDoodle, right? So we go back to jdoodle.com and we will force some errors, right? So that we know what are some of the errors. So one of the things that I do, I for example, delete the last bracket. And then I say execute. And see what it says. It told me the last closing bracket.
Okay. And then execute, right?
And then execute. And you'll see reached end of file while parsing. So it is easier for it, right? It is looking, when it parsed everything, it came here and it said there should be an ending bracket or something other than that. And it couldn't find it, and then it thought, oh, file was ended. So this was an easier. So we know that, and then what else you see? You see it gives my class Java, that's the name of the file, and then after that you have 8. What is that? 8. That's the line number, right? But I deleted it on line number 9. Why it said line number 8? Because
I was going to say because it reads white space is the same word.
right. So this is the last time we talked about, is that for Java, white space does not matter. If I put this here and then put another curly brace here, so you can see that, right? These two curly braces were, first one was on the line 8, the next one was on line 9, right? If I execute it, it did execute. So all the white spaces in between, they does not matter. Java can read all of it without any white space. So you can write it all in the same line and Java will execute exactly the same.
Sorry to interrupt you.
No.
So one thing I noticed is when you run the function, it calculated it for you.
Right.
So that's something that's
Right.
it's already basically set up for it to do that.
Right.
That's not part of the program that we're writing.
No, this is a program, because this is the program that we wrote. Of course, we did not write it; came automatically, but
It recognizes what the plus sign means. In other words.
right. So we will talk about it a little bit, but yes. So this is the program that we are writing today, right? Because I said, don't worry about the first 2 lines; they will stay the same. Don't worry about the last 2 lines; they will stay the same. But in between is what the program that we wrote. JDoodle, when we started it automatically came with an example program. But this is what it was doing. And we will go through it in today, hopefully, inshallah. So, again, we are forcing some errors. What I wanted to do here is to force some errors and show you that what compiler helps us in finding some errors. So let me take this out and then execute. And it said, it expected semicolon. So it knows that sometimes when you miss some important things, that how the program runs, then it knows exactly where the problem is, right? One of the things is that, say for example, in here we are talking about X is in dollars and Y is in dollars, right? And then we are doing a sum of X and Y and printing. So what we get? 125, right? But say it is the money that Musa has and the money that Muhammad has, and we are summing it, right? So Musa has $100, so we put 100. Muhammad has $25, we have put 25, and then we get 125, right? But say Muhammad has 25, but we somehow wrote 35, and we executed. Our program ran, but it did not give the correct answer, right? So this is that logical error, the last type of error that we were saying. So the first type of error that we were giving, like this, not having this, is a syntax error. If I write instead of system, if I write just something like this, it is a semantic error because it could not find something in the whole Java and stuff like that. So the whole idea is that once you will run, you will get into all of those things. And I am doing software programming for almost 30 years or even more. And I can tell you that seeing an error is the most dreadful thing for a programmer ever. Because this is a small program. You can easily find and fix an error. But once you have a lot of big program, then it is not that easy. So don't take it as something very trivial. Okay, we'll find it and we will fix it. This is very important. And you'll get better when you'll work on it, but it will still be a challenge all the time. sec. So we will try to go. So this is just like different kinds of errors. Now, but how you work with it? So we'll go back to this and then this, right? So there is something which we'll call edit, compile, verify side. So again, this is very high level, but this is this is the life of a programmer. Other than, of course, finding bugs, but this is also the same thing. You start a program, you write a program, you compile the program, you find compiling error. Right? That's what we did, right? If there was no semicolon, we found a compiling error. What we did, we go back and we write the program. Then we go back to compilation. Then we find the compilation. We see, oh, no compilation error. Then we do program testing. What was program testing? Execution, right? But we executed a program and it calculated 125 or say 135, but you guys had $125. This is program testing. That you verify that your input, you give it an input, you verify, you check the output and you see is it the correct output. If I run it in all different kind of situations, will it work? Or if I keep running it, would it break or something? So that is a program testing. And then when you do a program testing, you get what? Runtime errors. Runtime errors means we did some mathematics and then we found out, no, this is not the correct mathematics we did. It's the program compiled, but our outputs are not correct. So what we did was, okay, there were still errors. You go back to program writing. The end comes way later. A lot of your life is between these few steps. This is just to give a perspective. This is not to, of course, anything else. This is exactly what you saw, right? I try to compile with an error, forced error, and it did not compile. Go back, fix that error, compile again. Then we see, okay, is it giving the right answer? If it is not, then you go ahead and change again. Then it's giving the right answer, then you are okay. But this is for a very small program. For a very big program, there are a lot of people who will do it together, but this is how it works. Yes, question?
Why, if you change the numbers and it gives you different answers, I mean, how do you know? I'm kind of confused. How do you know?
Don't worry, we'll come to it. We'll do, if we have time, we will do those exercises right now. Everybody will do it. Okay. But I want to go through some of the text, some of the concepts. Okay. Because some of those concepts, and because the time is running out, I don't want to keep everybody too late. But those are because these are very basic concepts. They look very simple. But, and then once you become a programmer, you will use it every day, without even knowing. Just like driving, right? When you learn, then you don't even know what is what. But then when you start using it, then it becomes your second nature. It will become the same thing, but you still have to, it's the right time right now to kind of understand it, and then hopefully we'll use it more and more. So don't worry about it, that numbers we will talk about it. So Java portability. So there is some notes of Java portability. We did talk about it a little bit. This is something of a text that I want you to read, and then read more about in Google. If you want to discuss a little bit more, we can discuss it. If you have a question next week, we can talk about it a little bit more. But Java portability is a topic which is Java specific. I just kept it so that some of the people who want to continue with Java, and Java is a very good language to continue with, then of course you should know a little bit about it. But it's a very interesting topic, so that's why I had it. Now this is our first topic as set for today. So far we've been talking about things that were not that directly to the programming. They were helping in the programming. Without that we cannot do anything in the programming, but this is the first programming topic for today. And what is the topic? Data and data types. So what we said are the two things most important, or two main things in a program. Mohammed. Two things in a program. What are those two things in a program? Exactly, Sister Khair. 1 point for her. So data and operations, right? And if you were here in the first lecture, then you would definitely remember, because you have a very sharp mind, that we also talked about algorithms. So operations is like towards algorithms. But yes, you're right. This is exactly what the question was. Data. So the first part of that is data, right? So that's what we started our topic, data. But data has types. And just like we said, a program is data and operations, right? Data is what you process using operations. For example, we discussed in our last lecture, we discussed about searching in a registry, right? So search was operation, registry was data, right? So registry was for name and address. For the data, we have to first understand what are the different data types. So from a language point of view, we'll talk about different data, right? But from a language point of view, there are few data types. There's a primitive data type, there's a built-in data type, there is a library data type, and there is a user data type. You don't have to remember right now, but some of those concepts you'll always use, because data types is the most important thing. So in here you'll see I have put built-in and primitive together. Why? Because of Java. Java is a very specific, is a language which says it is an object-oriented language. And it is like 99% object-oriented language, but there is 1% sometimes when it's not object-oriented language. And again, that's a different concept, but there are some data types that are part of the language. Language understand it as a data itself. So we'll go through it. There are multiple built-in data types, but we'll talk about 4 which are the most important, which we'll use time to time. The first is integer. What is integer? Who can tell me what is integer? What integer is? A number, a natural number, right? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So say for example, Musa is 16-year-old. No, you are 17, he is 16. So say Musa is 16-year-old. So 16 is a number, right?